Hello, my friends. Our project this week is called Spring Showers. There's two parts to it. So we're going to look at the paint part first. You'll need your strip of paint and a paintbrush. You've got two pieces of diffusing paper. It's kind of like coffee filter, and a piece of cardboard. We're going to use the cardboard a little later. I've got some water here. Now you can actually do this with any kind of markers, permanent markers or regular markers. That will all work too. But all we're going to do, now you can be super accurate and put the right colors onto your rainbow. I could never remember which colors of the rainbow go where, so yeah. So it's going to kind of spread. The more water we get in it, the more it will spread out here. Come on. It's going to be exciting when the person who works at this desk comes back and finds paint on their desk. She's not here today though, so it's okay. All right, so we're just going to get lots of nice colors on there. We're going to make sure we get both pieces. And when it's all painted, we're going to let it dry, okay? Okay, so once you've gotten your rainbows colored, either with markers or with watercolors, actually liquid watercolors are probably the one that would look the coolest on here. And you should really cover your area. I didn't do that, but you should. We won't tell Lisa that I didn't. Then we're gonna we've got our cardboard backing here. So we're gonna put our rainbow on. Make sure you line up the holes that we punched in it here. And I'm just gonna use tape because it's quick, but you could also use a glue stick or just a little bit of glue. One on one side, and put my one on the other side. And it's not lining up exactly because I really should have flipped this one over before I did it, but you know, hindsight. Oh, hey, it works when you flip it over too. The magic of diffusing paper. This one's also a lot smaller than the rainbow you're going to get in your craft kit, because this is just our sample. So, ta-da! And put your yarn in and hang up your rainbow. And there you go. So for the clouds and flowers portion of our spring showers, you'll need your felt pieces, and I've got two put together here, all matched up, and the same thing with my flower. And then you need needle and thread and scissors. If you don't have needles and threads, you can pick some up at the library, and you can also get some stuffing. You don't really need this much. That's just the lump that I had. So however you're going to sew around the corner, and I've picked a dark thread here so you can kind of see me doing it. You don't really need a knot, just pull it in. I'm doing a little bit of a running stitch here, so that'll be nice and strong. And I'm going to sew around my edge. Now decide how you want to put your yarn in to hang your cloud. Do you want just one thing to hang it from the top, like this, or from the side so it's more even? And I want to put mine in from the side, so I'm going to put one end of my yarn, I'm just going to tuck it right in here, and then I'm going to sew over it. And that will hold it in place. When I get done sewing around the entire thing, I can just hang it up. Now when you've sewn around, or make sure you leave a space to put in your stuffing. And unless you want really big puffy clouds, I think they look kind of more like a pillow if you did that. Now see here, I've come up to the yarn, so I'm going to tack over it a couple times just to make sure it's really secure. And my thread knotted. Yay. Sewing is very good for the patience. Whoop. I think just a slightly puffy cloud is nicer. So when I finish sewing all the way around this, I'll have to remember when I get to the other side to put my other piece of yarn in. And then it's going to hang up like this. Ignore that. And I'm going to leave a space to put in just my little bit of stuffing. So it's going to be just a slightly, not a huge cloud, but just a slightly fluffy cloud. Just slightly puffy. Just a teeny bit. Now for our flower, we're going to be doing roughly the same thing. We're going to be sewing around the edge, leaving a little space to put our stuffing in so our flower is not completely flat, it's just slightly puffy. And we're also going to put in a stem. Now this is going to be a little trickier than the yarn we put in for the clouds, because the yarn is nice and soft and it squishes flat. We just have to sew over it a few times to make sure it's really tightly in there. The stem is going to be one of these chenille stems, or a pipe cleaner. I don't know why we still call them pipe cleaners, but we do. And so you have to decide, you can put it just a little bit at the edge, or if you stick your stem all the way up into the flower, you'll be able to twist and bend your flower around. I'm going to stick it all the way up into it, and then I'm going to sew right over it, just like we did for the yarn. It's a little trickier with this one because you can't sew through wire. Not with these needles anyways. So basically just going over and around. Yep. And I'm going to stitch over it twice just to make sure I really got it firmly in there. And then, so we sew nicely over it, and then once we finish sewing around and put in a little stuffing, we'll be able to set our flower up however we want to, within, reason. And then we have our rainbow and our clouds and our flower.